See you guys. Heading off to Las Vegas. Made it. Now to Bellagio for a little 1-3. It's a nice, again, cool December evening here on the lovely Las Vegas Strip. Hoping to make some Disko dollars. See what happens. Let's jump to it. So here we go. We sit down at the 1-3 no limit table. Buying for 300. We are in the big blind. We are looking down at King 10 offsuit. I elect to raise it up to 13. 13 to go. Under the gun makes the call. And lay position makes the call as well. So we are 3 ways to the flop. Flop comes down 8-9 king with 2 diamonds. Flush draw, a couple straight draws out there. I put out a bet for 15 as first act. I think I could have made a more polarized higher bet size in here to make it heads up. To the turn, even claim the pot here. With pair of kings, decent kicker, top pair, decent kicker. I think I'm ahead, but probably could have put a higher bet size in there. Turn comes a 4 of spades. I check, think it's a brick. Under the gun, puts in a bet of 45. Late position calls, and I think about it for a quick second. And with my pair of kings, I don't think the 4 changes anything. I elect to make the call as well. So we are still 3 ways to the river. River comes, not the card I was hoping for, the Jack of Diamonds. So ace, queen gets there, flush draws get there. It goes check, check. I ended up making the fold. The late position player across from me put out a bet of 135, a little more than half the pot. And I, just with a pair of kings, just didn't think I could do it. I put him on. He had been showing down a lot of made hands. Pretty effectively in the session, so I decided to let it go. Second hand, we were looking down at Queen 10 offsuit. This interesting hand. I decided just to limp in, vary my range here a little bit. Everyone kind of folds around to the late position player who puts in the raise to 10, and the guy behind after him folds out, and I go to make the call, but he had thrown in his cards, so playing out of turn, thinking that everyone else folded. So the dealer clarifies that for me. He's not super stoked on it, but the dealer passes some Disko dollars my way, and happy to take down that pot free of charge. Next hand we were in the big blind. We were looking at the pocket 10s. Under the gun makes it 6. It folds around. I make the call just for 3 more. Flop comes Jack 2 ace with 2 diamonds. First act I check. He throws out a bet of 12. I make the call for 12 more. 7 of spades on the turn. I check. He ends up making the check as well. 5 of clubs on the river. Once again, I check. Probably could have bet, but he checks through. Show down my 10s. He tosses his into the muck. And we are good, taking down our first small-ish pot of the night. Regardless, happy to take down a small little pot here with a pair of 10s. Next hand to look, we are in late position with ace-jack suited of the diamond variety. Couple limpers. I 3-bet to 10. The button 4-bets to 30. I end up making the call here. I'm stacking up my chips. I considered the 5-bet jam, but thought I'm not really in position anymore with him on the button, so I just make the call for 20 more. So the flop comes Jack 3-8 with 2 spades. I check for pot control. The button throws out a bet for $30 with top pair, top kicker, flush draw out there with the ace of diamonds. I decide just to shove all in for just about 110 more. He only had like 20, 30 bucks behind, so I had him covered. Turn and river come a brick. We show down and we are good. He shows ace, queen of hearts. So we happily take down his first pot. Just like me. Next time on Undergun +1, this is quite the doozy of a hand, looking down at ace, king off. I c-bet to 10, 2 callers behind, so we are 3 ways to the flop, which comes the 8, 10, jack with 2 diamonds. Again, a very draw-heavy board here. Small blind checks. I decide to bet for 15. In the middle position, and small blind end up making the call. On the turn comes the 8 of diamonds, so improving to my backdoor flush draw. Small blind checks. I decide to just check as well. Middle position makes the check, so it checks through. 7 of diamonds on the river, which is wonderful, having a little party in my head. I think we're nutted here. Small blind checks. I see how much value I can get. I elect to push in a bet of $60. Middle position ends up making the fold, and the guy in the small blind tanks for a second, asks how much I have behind, thinks about it a little more, but ends up ultimately making the call. I show my king of diamonds, thinking that we are good. The dealer asks to show me both cards. I say fine, and small blind ends up throwing down the ace 8 with the ace of diamonds for the higher flush on the river. So didn't feel very good on that one. Thought we were nutted. We went with the second nuts, but this guy was a good guy, so of all the players, happy to give this guy my money. Next hand, we are in the small blind, looking at the best hand in Texas Hold'em. The pocket aces off suit of diamonds and spades. I decide to raise to $10 in the small blind. We have 2 callers behind, so we are going 3 ways to the flop, hoping these aces hold. Flop comes down, fairly safe here. We got queen, jack, and 3 with 2 clubs. But I'm not quite sure, so I check. It ends up checking through. The turn comes a 5 of spades. Don't think this is really helping anybody. I elect to put out a bet of $30. The big blind thinks for a second, makes the fold, and late position ends up making the call. So we're going to be going heads up to the river. And the river card comes down as a 2 of diamonds. I'm not thinking this helps anybody. Didn't put him on like a 4-6. None of the flush draws get there. So I just decide to shove all in. This player had been pretty heavily calling, somewhat of a calling station throughout the session. So I decide to jam, shove all in, just for about, not a ton more, about $100 more. He had me covered, thinking that he would call, so he might get a little more value out of him. But after a little bit in the tank, he ends up making the fold, lets it go. So I take my $100 back and happy just to take the $90 on top of that. So a couple hands later, we are looking down once again at the pocket rockets, swapping out that spade for the ace of clubs. We are in middle position this time. We elect to 3-bet for 15, about $5 more than my standard 3-bet raise. End up getting 1 caller. He thinks about it. Look at him over there. He's thinking about his looks at his cards. He looks at his chips. He starts to stack his chips. In my head, I'm having a little party, hoping him to go higher, 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 higher. But he elects to only make a 4-bet to 60. I play drama a little bit. I ask the dealer how much. She tells me 60. I think for a quick sec, making the other player think that I don't have a made hand. Count up my 60 chips and just elect to jam all in for only about 55, 60 more. So I push all in, and he lovely, awesomely just snap calls. Now I'm hoping that my aces can hold. River comes pretty clean. 2, jack, 9, rainbow, turn 6 of clubs, and the river gives us that beautiful ace of spades. So we show, thinking that we are good, and indeed we are. So ace is held. Lovely river ace. Ace on the river. And we take down our first larger pot of the session. Some Disko dollars coming our way. Next hand, we are looking at ace queen suited. I'm in middle position. I decide to 3-bet 215. We get one caller in early position, so we are heads up to the flop. Flop comes down 10 jack 9. Lovely flop for me. Pretty wet though, pretty open-ended. Early position checks. I bet for $20. He makes the call. Turn comes the 5 of spades, essentially a brick. I check, planning to check call or check raise, but just checks through. River is lovely. It's beautiful. It's that king of diamonds, hoping that it helps us out more than the ace-king hand. So I push in a bet of 55, hoping that he will call. And indeed, he makes the call. He says a queen is good. And so we take down another decently sized pot. This was the player that had also beat me in the ace-king hand, so happily take my money back from him. Taking a quick break here in the sportsbook at Bellagio. A nice place to lounge when there are a bunch of games going on. Sports games. Yeah, sports. Sports. Quick update. We've been in for about 2 hours. It is 9:20 p.m. Las Vegas time. We're about even right now. We're still about 300. We went up about 350 for a quick sec. Table image is pretty tight, but I've won a couple good pots. First was check through the pocket 10's, whatever. I've won ace high straight, nice king help on the river. Pocket aces twice, won both times with all-ins. That felt good. Got to work in the morning remotely, so I'll probably stick around for another hour or so and call it. So, hope for some run good here in the next about 40-45 minutes to an hour or so. See how it goes. Coming back after the break in the big blind, looking down at pocket 5s. Late position makes it 15 to go, and I make the call for 15 more. So we are heads up now to the flop, which comes 10 ace 7 rainbow. It checks through. Turn comes the ace of clubs. Not thinking this changes anything. I check. Late position puts out a bet of 10. I make the call just for 10 more. River is the jack of clubs. I don't think, again, that this changes much. I probably could have bet maybe representing the jack or a 10. It ends up checking through. I show my 5s somewhat hesitantly, thinking we are not good, which indeed is the case. Late position shows down 10 8 of hearts for a pair of 10s on the flop. If I could have played the hand better, let me know in the comments how I could have played the hand better. Next hand, jack 10 suited. We're in late position. I elect to raise up to 10, and there are 2 callers behind. So we are 3 ways to the flop. Flop comes down 10 9 ace rainbow. Lots of these open-ended straight draws in this session. Checks. I bet c-bet to 20. Cutoff calls, and the button ends up making the fold after thinking for a quick second. So we are heads up to the turn, which comes a deuce of hearts. Thinking this doesn't really do anything for anybody except for the heart draw. Checks through, and there it is on the river. So the heart flush gets there with the 5 of hearts. I think for a sec, not really having any showdown value. I could bluff here. I didn't have a whole lot behind, so I ended up making the check. And the cutoff pretty quickly makes a bet of 45. I'm not too thrilled here. I didn't think I want to shove them all in for a crying bluff on the river, so I'm pretty bummed, but I end up making the fold. And he told me later that he had flopped 2 pair ace 10, so I guess a good fold there. Last hand of the session to review, looking down at ace 9 of clubs in middle position. I raise it up to $10. Behind me there are 2 callers. Flop comes down 10 queen 5 rainbow. Small blind checks, I check. Late position bets 20, and the small blind calls, and I like to make the call as well. Turn is the king of diamonds, looking a little bit better. Our straight draw is almost there, hoping for the jack. Small blind checks, I check. Late position now puts out the bet of 50. Small blind calls, I am not stoked again how I played this hand. Probably could have bet higher on the flop instead of checking. So I elect to let this go begrudgingly And I see how this plays out. Let it play out. River comes a 5 of hearts. It checks through. And villain shows down 10 queen off for a flopped 2 pair. So he takes down that last pot session. All right, so just ended the session about 10:17 p.m. Las Vegas local time. Recapping the session, felt okay. The table was fun camaraderie at the table, fun players. So that's always a good time. A lot of good table banter, table talk. After the last check-in, had a couple good hands, a little bit card dead. I was still playing a bit tight, trying to pay off them loans. Yeah, so I feel okay about the session. Ultimately, in for 300, out for, look at the sound. Look at that sound. In for 300, out for 163. So a deficit of, what's that, 137? I probably could have played more aggressive. Let's check it out. Here's the fountains. Thanks for checking out the vlog, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Check me out on Instagram at @Disko Poker. If you think I could have played any hands more effectively, let me know in the comments. Curious to hear what you think.